We are awash in stories about sex and sexual abuse and sexual identity. And some of this is being hijacked by partisans and ideologues to score their own points. Let's start with Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, that Vanity Fair cover making international news. And of course, transgenders should be treated with respect and dignity. That is not up to me. It's none of my business what Jenner did, although boy, Caitlyn Jenner, has really orchestrated an amazing media rollout here with the Diane Sawyer interview and the cover, and now the E! Reality series. But the mainstream media coverage has ranged from positive to absolutely celebratory, especially on MSNBC. There is a conservative viewpoint that's basically been ignored by this media coverage, which is that some Americans are not comfortable with this process and view it as part of the culture wars and don't accept that a man can become a woman or vice versa. I'm not saying they are right. I am very libertarian on this, but I do think there might be some acknowledgement in the coverage that this is controversial. Not everybody agrees with it. And of course, not everybody is as wealthy and famous as Jenner and able to do it in quite this fashion with all the cosmetic surgery so that you can be on the cover of Vanity Fair. The Duggar family, I talked about this with Megyn Kelly the other night, and I made a lot of points about this, saying that, the parents of Josh Duggar should have gone to the authorities aggressively and immediately when they learned about the sexual abuse back in 2002, that this could be a criminal matter, that there are victims, that I don't understand how they put their family on a reality show knowing they had this dark secret which has now come out, which now cost them, at least temporarily, the TLC show. But at the same time, I said that some liberal partisans were milking this, trying to tie the Republican presidential candidates to Josh Duggar because he'd appeared with a number of them. Of course, they didn't know what he had done a decade or more ago, and that we ought to have some compassion considering that this is what Josh Duggar did when he was 14 years old, not minimizing the import of what went on. Now, so I got attacked for that, and how are you letting them off the hook, and why aren't you being hard on them, as if it's just another political debate and not involving the conduct or misconduct of teenagers. And then finally, we have the indictment of Denny Hastert. And my feeling is, it's not in the indictment, as you know, the former House Speaker charged with, currency manipulation and lying to the FBI to cover something up. The indictment doesn't say what the it is, but law enforcement leaks have made clear that it relates to sexual abuse back when Hastert was a high school teacher and a wrestling coach. And of course, this might be the most troubling of all of this because he was a grown man and he is alleged to have done something terrible with one or more students or perhaps underage kids. And we would all condemn that. And obviously this should be fully investigated. But some people have made the observation that it's a strange indictment because not only do we not know the full story, but what about the person who was going to receive $3.5 million in payments, alleged hush money, from the former speaker? Isn't that extortion? Why don't we know more about that? Why isn't that person being charged? So even to raise that, as Brit Hume did on Fox recently, you have liberal groups pounding you saying, oh, you're letting Hastert off the hook. You don't care about what he did. You're soft on sexual abuse. And that's not what any of these people have been saying. In fact, a very liberal commentator, Bill Press, in his column in The Hill says he thinks that Hastert could be the victim of an overzealous prosecution, and he has some compassion. And compassion is the key word. All these stories are worth covering. They're important. They are fair game. But when did we reach a point in our media and political culture where the two sides, the different sides, were so intent on waging warfare, they lost any notion of compassion?